Week 7, and what a season this is. The Halifax Masquerade Men are, well, let's just look at the standings. 4-2, currently tied for 5th place. Of course, the top 8 will make the playoffs, so we are in a favorable spot right now, but I mean, just look at this. 11 teams are 3-3 or better right now. Yeah, that math checks out. I mentioned this in the last video, but someone else checked the numbers I have not confirmed and suggested that 5-3 might not even be enough to guarantee a playoff spot. The Ontario Minchinos are still undefeated in sets, though not quite in games yet. There are 3 teams at 5-1, and then we're here with the Azure Bay Chadots with a lot of tough opponents breathing down our neck, like the Hisuian Houndstones, like the Foraging Furrets. Tough start to the season, but that team seems to be bouncing back now. Big Mode Bellybolt, the Iridescent Terrapagos, Drago's Children, and one team that really has its back against the wall here, this week's opponent, the Sinister Sinistcha. This is the Sinistcha team. It's one that I've had my eye on all season because I thought that Trick Room was going to be very strong this season, and I do think it has, but one consequence of that is that a lot of teams have strong Trick Room options. This one has a Trick Room core of Kapparaja, Hariyama, Slowking, and Trevenant, all of them able to hit hard under Trick Room. Trevenant and Slowking able to set Trick Room, and decent coverage across the board. Slowking as a special attacker, the others as physical attackers. Good stuff all around. They also have the Moody duo of Scovillain and Alolan Muck. So in VGC, one team that frustrates people a lot pairs Moody Smeargle with Alolan Muck. The Smeargle uses Follow Me, while the Alolan Muck sets up Evasiveness boost with Minimize. And then when the Smeargle is knocked out, Alolan Muck's ability Power of Alchemy activates and copies Smeargle's Moody, so then Muck gets random stat boosts with Moody in addition to its Minimize boost. So Moody boosts a random stat 2 stages at the end of every turn and lowers a random stat 1 stage, excluding Evasiveness and Accuracy. Those cannot be affected by Moody anymore, but it's still a net gain to stats over time, and with the Evasiveness boost from Minimize, Muck can be hard to hit as it piles up those boosts. So that's one mode they have. They also have the Scovillain Redirection enabling Trick Room setup. They have Squawkabilly enabling Trick Room setup with Intimidate and Parting Shot. And that's most of what we've seen from this team during the season. I will say one reason that I think they've had a little bit of trouble is that it's a little bit more predictable than some other teams in the league. Chances are they're throwing one or both of those modes at you. There is definitely more room for creativity than that, but those are the main things that this team is spec'd into. The Glimmet is also actually noteworthy because Glimmet has a surprisingly high special attack stat for a tiny unevolved Pokemon, and we have seen it just run like a Choice Scarf and blast through some opponents, and that's another way that they can enable Trick Room setup or Muck setup by taking a KO before the opponent can hit back. The rest of the team, Shroomish is a menace under Trick Room with Spore. Gabite and Girafarig, I don't think we've seen much of this season. I don't really know that Gabite brings all that much to the table, and Girafarig is a Trick Room setter, but it's not as good as Slowking or Trevenant. It can run an Eviolite, so I guess that's something. But yeah, the main things to watch out for this team are the 4 Pokemon Trick Room core that I mentioned before, the duo of Scovillain and Alolan Muck. I guess 4 things to watch out for, because I'll say the third one is support from Squawkabilly and Scovillain enabling Trick Room setup, and the Glimmet as a special attacker that can snipe some surprising KOs. So it's an interesting matchup, right? On some level, I kind of know what it is that I'm dealing with more than I do some weeks, but on another level, it's still hard to deal with. These are strong Pokemon with high stats for this format and some shenanigans that they can pull, but when I looked at the matchup, there was one thing that really caught my attention, one thing that I really wanted to try, because I was thinking about that Muck Scovillain combination. I would not be surprised to see it, especially since the coach knows that it's going to be in a video. It certainly could be content, and there was one move that I thought could help me out quite a bit against this team. So to start off our lineup this week, we have Haunter with a Focus Sash set like I've been using throughout the season, but this one is running Skill Swap. The number one thing that I would like to do with Skill Swap is take Moody away from Scovillain and maybe give it to somebody else on my team. I mean, Haunter could potentially make good use of it too. Anything can make good use of it or bad because of the randomness involved. But that's what I would I mean, I don't know whether they'll bring Moody Scovillain. Maybe a skill swap. Well, I won't say it's a waste, but maybe I don't get to do that with it. But that's what I'm hoping to see in this matchup, number one. And skill swap does have other utility into their team. If it's Flame Orb, Guts, Hariyama, I can take Guts away and make it sad, as the burn does now lower its attack instead of boosting. I can take Harvest away from Trevenant, potentially, make that Pokemon harder to bring down. I can borrow Squawkabilly's Intimidate, because I don't have any Intimidate of my own on my team, and my opponent has strong physical attackers like Copperajah and Hariyama. So I think Skill Swap has enough utility to justify bringing it, even knowing that there might not be a Moody Scovillain, but I also think there's a decent chance that there's a Moody Scovillain, and I would love to turn Moody against them. That seems like so much fun. Otherwise, it's a pretty straightforward set. The Haunter here is EV'd to be faster than anything on their team before modifiers like a Choice Scarf on Squawkabilly or something. It's not so much I can do about that. I have, Focus Sash, Protect, 2 attacks. You'll find out in a moment why I'm running Hex instead of Shadow Ball this week, but Skill Swap is the real draw here. And we'll jump right straight to the second Pokemon to explain that Hex. I am bringing Froakie once again. It made its season debut last week, but did not actually hit the field. This is again Choice Scarf Froakie. Surf is here to set something up, no points for guessing what. Switcheroo, because again, this is another team that I think can, on my opponent's side, that I think can have a lot of trouble with an unwanted Choice Scarf. Put that on something like Slowking when it's setting Trick Room, or Trevenant. Put that on even the Muck in some situations. It can be very disruptive to the way that they want to play. I have Toxic Spikes so that I can wear down my opponent's team with residual damage, and I also get boosted Hex on Haunter. My opponent does have, I believe, 2 grounded poison types, unless I'm forgetting one. They certainly have Muck and Glimmet, so Toxic Spikes might be kind of situational in this matchup, but some of their other Pokemon, like Hariyama and Slowking and Trevenant, probably would prefer not to take that chip damage over time, but also are very vulnerable to Haunter's Hex. So Hex might hit Pokemon like Slowking and Trevenant kind of hard anyway, but especially if they're poisoned. That's some big Ghost-type damage right there. Also, Haunter is Terra Ghost, because I thought about a defensive Terra type, but I couldn't really see anything that made... I didn't really think it conceptually made sense with this very frail Choice Scarf, or Focus Sash set. So, the Terra type is just here to boost the Hex yet more. And Froakie is Terra Ghost, because that way I have an immunity to fake out Hariyama that I can switch on if I want. I believe I did my EV spreads a while ago, so I'm going to forget some of the speed benchmarks maybe, but I believe Froakie is running this investment to guarantee that it outspeeds Scarf Glimmet as long as it still has its own Scarf. I think that's something I would have done here. And I have Hydro Pump as a damaging option that does not hit the partner. So Surf next to a specific partner, I wonder who it is, and Hydro Pump next to anything else. And we'll meet that specific partner right now, because the next Pokemon here is Gastrodon. Gastrodon once again running the Rindo Berry. I am at the point in the season where I kind of feel like I do want to run other items on Gastrodon sometimes, but I need a good reason. But also in this specific matchup where there's Trevenant, there's possible like Energy Ball, Glimmet. I definitely think the Rindo Berry is worthwhile. I also have Poison as a defensive Terra type. Why did I choose Poison instead of a specific other one? Well, Steel would be vulnerable to Hariyama and Scovillain. I think it's your basic Poison opens up fewer weaknesses. I have Storm Drain, so Gastrodon can be set up by Froakie with Surf, and I am running a very bulky Gastrodon this week, very physically bulky, so that it can sponge hits from Copperajah, Hariyama, Trevenant with the Rindo Berry or the Terra Poison. My opponent has a lot of physical threats. They have significant special threats as well, but their team is skewed more to the physical side, especially in terms of the Pokemon they've actually been bringing most weeks. And while Glimmet is a fearsome special attacker, I do outspeed and threaten it with Froakie, plus it's weak to the Earth Power from Gastrodon, so hopefully I can play around Glimmet other ways if they bring that. Earth Power and Ice Beam are, I think, good enough coverage into my opponent's team, and with a lot of bulk and recover, I can potentially make Gastrodon sit on the field for a while opponents are potentially worn down by the Toxic Spikes, assuming I have gone to a Froakie Gastrodon game plan. Obviously, multiple things have to go right there, and I do have other ways to play as well, like the Hex Haunter. or the skill swap Haunter. The other thing about super bulky Gastrodon with Recover is if I can take Moody away from Scovillain and give it to Gastrodon, then Gastrodon might be very well positioned to close out an endgame by itself. A lot has to go right for that to happen, but it'd be really cool if it does. Is there anything else about this Gastrodon? I think that about covers it. Okay, up next is Torkoal. Torkoal is here once again. I'm bringing back the Eject Pack set. So Torkoal is able to set up Sun to give a Chlorophyll boost to a certain someone else, and then hopefully get off the field if I want it to. Hopefully I land my overheats this time. If you haven't seen, I think week 5, where I tried to make the play with Eject Pack Torkoal, but I missed 3 overheats in a row. Yeah, hopefully we don't repeat that. But otherwise, it's a very straightforward Torkoal set. I have Solar Beam for the coverage because it's good into things like Slowking and... Slowking is the main one, I think. But yeah, and I just found Earth Power kind of underwhelming into this opponent. I don't think there's a whole lot that Earth Power covers that Solar Beam doesn't do well enough, and it's marginally better into the likes of Slowking. Otherwise, very basic Torkoal set, nothing we haven't seen before, but yeah, I can get it off the field. I can start getting fast sleep powders with, say, a grass type with Chlorophyll, and I can start looking to set things up like a Haunter game plan or a Gastrodon game plan. Or something else, a secret third thing. Lilligant is up next. That is the Chlorophyll user this week. I have a Covert Cloak because I'm not running Protect. I'm running a Covert Cloak to, again, avoid Hariyama flinches. I have changed the Terra type, I just haven't updated the image. I think I had the Covert Cloak on a different Pokemon for a long while, and I think I chose Terra Ghost to avoid Fake Out. And then as I was putting the images together, I realized I had that redundancy. So it is now Terra Rock, which turns its weaknesses to Squawkabilly Flying Attack, Scovillain Fire Attack, and Glimmet Poison Attack into resistances. Rock, not an amazing defensive type, but it does a lot for a grass type there. Lilligant is... what is it faster than? Chlorophyll Scovillain, I think. Yeah, that's the other thing I didn't mention about Scovillain. It doesn't have to run Booty, it does get Chlorophyll, so they can use my speed control against me. So I think Lilligant is EV'd for that. I certainly hope so. I have Sleep Powder, so I can potentially ruin a Trick Room setup or something like that. Even just make it harder for Muck to get going. After you, because I am not bringing my own Trick Room this week. I would like to, especially with Torkoal being the slowest Pokemon in the matchup and able to underspeed everything on my opponent's team, even though they're so hard Trick Room focused. But we'll talk about what is in my last slot in a little bit, but it is not Trick Room Slowking this week. So after you gives me that little bit more speed control, I can get that big eruption with Torkoal, I can get an Earth Power with Gastrodon, or even a Recover in a timely situation. And then Leaf Storm and Fire Weather Ball is just decent coverage into my opponent's team. It's not perfect, it doesn't quite get everything, I don't think, but it's reasonable here. And yeah, with Torkoal, hopefully I can get some good chip into stuff. And like I said, this is Terra Rock, not Terra Ghost. Finally, the last Pokemon. I knew the Pokemon right away. It actually was the first one I chose for this week, but then I second-guessed it for a while. But there are like 10 different moves I want to run on this Pokemon this week. I wanted it to do too many things. And hopefully I've narrowed it down in a way that'll work out, but we'll just have to wait and see. I am bringing Galarian Slowking. I just don't have Trick Room on it. What I do have is this convoluted set right here, all in on bulk like the Gastrodon, although this time it's special bulk, and the reason for that is that I have Iron Defense to help cover the physical bulk. This is a bulky setup Slowking designed to sit on the field for a long while. Terra Grass does something good for its defensive matchups. Obviously it covers the ground weakness, so certain attacks from Pokemon like Glimmet and Copperajah can be dealt with that way. It also makes it immune to Spore from Shroomish. That's pretty important when this Pokemon is meant to sit on the field for a while. I have a Citrus Berry instead of Leftovers, because if I can use Skill Swap to take Harvest away from Trevenant, then that would just be a pretty funny and cool interaction. But yeah, Slowking is here to set up Iron Defense, set up Calm Mind, whatever might be most appropriate to the situation. Enabled by Lilligant putting opponents to sleep, enabled by Froakie wearing them down with Toxic Spikes, enabled by Haunter threatening massive damage with Hex into Pokemon that have either one of those statuses. And then the absolute dream, the thing I most want to see in this matchup is, of course, I use Haunter's Skill Swap to take Moody away from Scovillain and give it to Slowking. And I have all this set up. I was originally going to run Skill Swap Slowking. That was my first idea for the team. But like I said, there are like 10 different moves I want to run on Slowking. And Skill Swap didn't make the cut. This also was the Pokemon that originally had the Covert Cloak for a long while because I did not find room for Protect in this set. I did... At one point, when I was first making the images, I did have Psychic and Sludge Bomb instead of Calm Mind and Flamethrower, so dual stab. The problem with that is it doesn't really threaten Alolan Muck at all, and so if the Alolan Muck sets up with Minimize or something, there's just way too much chance that Slowking loses that one, even if it takes a really long time. Flamethrower has better neutral coverage into my opponent's team, but with no offensive investment and no stab, its damage is kind of questionable, and so that's why I ended up putting Calm Mind on the set as well. Calm Mind and Flamethrower, hopefully threatening broader coverage into more things, better able to play out an endgame position alone if its teammates have fainted than it would have been with stab attacks. So I might have cooked a little bit too hard with this Slowking set. It's certainly possible, but I really hope I can get this set up and just turn it into a menace that my opponent's team can't deal with. And like I said, the thing, I'm not saying it's likely, but the thing I want to see most in this matchup, the thing that will really get me fired up if I actually pull it off, is taking Moody away from Scovillain and giving it to Slowking. So that is the team. I have Toxic Spike's Hex gameplay. I have the Surf into Storm Drain option. Hopefully Skill Swap, like I said, can do multiple things. It's not only for Moody, it's also good for things like Guts, Harvest, and Intimidate. And then I do have the classic Lilycole to fall back on as well. I'm thinking probably in game 1 I do something like I leave Lilligant and Torkoal behind and do Haunter, Froakie, Gastrodon, Slowking in some combination, and then I have the Lilycole to bring out in game 2. But I'm not committing to that right now. I'll have to think some more scenarios through as we get closer to the set. But hopefully I can find the right combinations to get that 5th win. It would be a big relief in this really difficult competitive season. So let's just cut to the battles and find out. All right, battle time. Hope you can hear me. I almost forgot to plug the mic in. That would have been awkward. Good luck, have fun, Robbie. Scovillain, Muck, Trevenant, Hariyama, Slowking, Gabite. So about what I expected, although there's no Copperajah, and I think I said in the team builder section that I wasn't really sure what Gabite brought to the table for this team. It was probably the Pokemon I least expected to see, so see if there's some kind of trick with that. But yeah, Scovillain, Muck. I could see Scovillain leading game 1 for sure. I mean, Scovillain, it's really sort of natural lead Pokemon for this team because it can get the Muck set up, or it can give cover for Trick Room. And there's no Squawk ability to support the Trick Room setup, so I'll lead Haunter here. I would love to get a skill swap into Scovillain. We'll see if it happens. And it could be Muck, it could be Trick Room. I could just do Froakie, go for Toxic Spikes, but of course Muck would then remove those. I could switcheroo something with Froakie. I really don't dislike that. Alright, Haunter, Froakie, Slowking, and I think probably Gastrodon last, but maybe I go Torkoal just to underspeed everything in Trick Room. I mean, unless they have like an Iron Ball or something. They probably do. I'm gonna go Torkoal for game 1. Alright, Trevenant Hariyama leads, so no Scovillain. I see my items. Obviously there's a possible fake out into Froakie. I don't think I want to use my Terra on it immediately though. It could be thick fat Hariyama. I'm thinking about whether to skill swap it to try to take away Guts, but it doesn't need to have Guts. I guess I can scout for a Flame Orb this turn and worry about that later. I could just chip the Trevenant with Hex. Sure. And I'll just click Toxic Spikes. Could be Muck in the back. I'll just click Toxic Spikes. Oh, the Muck is here. Okay. That means that it has to switch out and back in to clear the toxic spike, so that's something. They just knock off into Haunter. No Flame Orb. I think it might be... Or, yeah, I think it's probably Thick Fat Hariyama then. I didn't mention, but it's Torrent Froakie because I actually just thought that Protean seemed disadvantageous here. Because I only have Water-type attacks, so if I switcheroo, turn into a Dark-type, then I just don't have Stab on Froakie's attacks anymore. I didn't really see any value coming from that. It's not like I need Stab on any other type. This is actually a really bad lead position for me, isn't it? Yeah, because there's no Trick Room. I'm just going to protect Haunter this turn. Froakie is locked into Toxic Spikes. I guess it's not the worst thing if I'm going for a Slowking setup endgame to get that second layer. Just knock off into Haunter again, and there's the Minimize Muck. Is Scovillain in the back? Honestly, I think I'm down to just skill swap the Muck so that it can't get moody, if there is that endgame plan. And I'm gonna go with Torkoal here for Slowking. I don't know if I want to I don't know if I want to show the Slowking this early. But how do I beat this Hariyama with the knockoff? It's a real problem. Well, what can you do? I'll just go Slowking. There's the skill swap. I do take Power of Alchemy away from the Muck. Yeah, switch Slowking in on a knockoff, and I don't even get the berry, and I think I'm just going to get blown out here in game 1. This game plan was just not it. No weakness, Muck. Well, I don't have anything to target that weakness this game anyway. Maybe I shouldn't have shown the skill swap, actually. Yeah, I'm really just kind of stuck here, huh? Well, I'll just overheat Hariyama, I guess, and Terra Grass Slack off. Oh, they actually attack Torkoal. That's good. I guess the Eruption is putting some pressure on them, but yeah, knockoff still KOs the Slowking. I do force Torkoal out this one time and reset the... No, I don't. Oh, it got knocked off. Right, okay. It doesn't matter. This one is a real blowout loss. Okay. Well, we just have to play this out because that's how it works for league stat purposes. We'll see who gets the KO on my Torkoal. Yeah, that Froakie did not work at all. I got the Toxic Spikes, but they never had to switch after that. Alright, game 2. And I'm going to lead Lilligant this time. I think with Slowking, and just try to get the Slowking going immediately. Because I think if that doesn't work, then I just don't have a way to win. Yeah, I can threaten Sleep Powder into something. Unfortunately, my opponent got a lot more information from game 1 than I did. Go Lilligant, Slowking. I could do Gastrodon and Froakie. I know Froakie was really bad in game 1, but if I don't lock it into Toxic Spikes and instead I lock it into Surf, or even Hydro Pump, and I boost my own Gastrodon. Haunter and Torkoal were pretty underwhelming in game 1. I'm going to try it, and if it doesn't work, well, better just get a win next week then. Well, let's see. Maybe I needed the Oricorio this week. I haven't seen what the game plan was for that, although I'm sure they had one. Okay, Hariyama and Gabite. So we'll find out what Gabite does. Do I Terra Grass the Slowking immediately? That's obviously threatened then by Muck and Scovillain in the back, but it gets rid of weaknesses into both of these two to knock off on Hariyama. So yeah, I think the answer is I do. Sleep Powder Hariyama. Yeah, I have the Covert Cloak. I don't have to worry about Fake Out on Lilligant. Sleep Powder Hariyama, Terra Grass, Iron Defense. Fake Out Slowking. But Hariyama takes a nap. Earth Power, okay. I might as well Sleep Powder the Gabite as well, and still go for that Iron Defense. I guess there are ways this position could get difficult. The Scovillain could really make me sad, depending on its set. But I'll take the one Iron Defense, and then I think I'll start going for Calm Mind. And I can think about switching Lilligant out here. Honestly, maybe to Froakie. Froakie or Gastrodon. Let's do... Let's do Froakie. I can click Hydro Pump into something. Probably Gabite. Trevenant comes in. Okay. I mean, I can click Switcheroo into Trevenant. That's not the worst thing, I think. That does then sack Froakie and take away the option to set up Gastrodon, but I think I'm just all in on Slowking this game, so let's do it. Take a Life Orb away from Trevenant. That's good. It'll do a bit less damage now. It also misses a Poltergeist there. Get Slowking to +2. I'll go for another Iron Defense. And I don't really want to switch Froakie out. Not really a whole lot Lilligant does in this position, so I'll just go Toxic Spikes here. Go for another Iron Defense with Slowking. Slowking obviously is vulnerable to a crit at any time, but oh, that did a fair bit of damage. Fortunately, Slowking hasn't been knocked off, so we do get the berry. I did not bring Haunter, though, so I can't take Harvest away from the Trevenant and get the berry back. I guess I just go Lilligant here, because I don't really want to throw Gastrodon at this Trevenant. Sleep Powder Hariyama again. I don't have an item anymore on Slowking, so I don't actually have to worry about Poltergeist anymore. I'll just Flamethrower Trevenant, see what that does. Gabite back in. Okay. Poltergeist into Lilligant. Does quite a bit of damage. I can after you Flamethrower Trevenant here. I think I'm good with that. Now the question is, can I pull this off again in Game 3? Assuming I do win this game, which is not yet a sure thing. Let's go for Sleep Powder into Muck here. But if I do... Go for another Iron Defense. If I do win this game, can I do this again in Game 3? And what adjustment do I have to make to turn that answer into a yes? Gabite's asleep. How long has it been? Maximum, so it'll wake up now. I'll go for the Sleep Powder into Muck anyway. I could lose to Muck still. So, they might play around this. But if I can put Muck to sleep, that's very good news for me. Okay, Muck's asleep. Gabite wakes up. That Dragon Pulse doesn't do very much to Slowking. I don't know Gabite's special attack off the top of my head, but I can't imagine it's very strong. I think I'll go Gastrodon here, because then I'm threatening Earth Power and Ice Beam into things. Just keep trying to get damage onto Muck. Muck is definitely the biggest threat, depending on its set. And yeah, especially with that Minimize. I actually do miss the Flamethrower there. I'm going to Earth Power, and I think I will... no, I'll keep attacking for now, but I am thinking about a Slack Off soon. Of course, I don't have the Citrus Berry anymore. I do have +6 defense, though. And I mean, if I get crit, that's probably that anyway. Okay, probably should have read that Protect. Gabite lowering its special attack is good, but I do think I want to Slack Off now. That obviously does give Muck an opening to potentially attack, but it also could switch out to Hariyama. And then probably take that Earth Power pretty well. Nonetheless, Hariyama switches into that slot. Okay. Muck is just going for the Evasiveness cheese, and it's working so far. I'm gonna say that Muck probably protects this next turn. So I'll Earth Power Hariyama, and I'll go for a Calm Mind. Try to get some more damage from Slowking. Hariyama could fake something out here. I guess I could have protected Gastrodon. That might have been for the best. I know about the Rindo Berry now, but I think they probably could have guessed. Real quick recover. Protect first. And I still want to get rid of this Muck. I know it has Power of Alchemy, so it doesn't have Poison Touch. It hasn't actually shown a way to poison Slowking, which is the main thing I'm worried about here. But I haven't landed an attack since it started clicking Minimize. Just play this a little slowly here. Okay, good that they didn't double into Gastrodon there. But I still cannot land an attack into this Muck. Maybe I need to ignore it and assume that it won't be able to poison me, because it probably would have by now. And just focus down the Hariyama. Alright, let's see what this does. I think it has... It's at -1 special defense, but I think it has thick fat, probably. I get Gastrodon back to full here. Yeah, that doesn't do a ton, but damage is damage. Let's Earth Power Flamethrower. Turn 17, by the way, and there could still be a ways to go here. It has that Drain Punch, but it is still net losing HP, especially with both of my Pokemon attacking. That said, I think I'll actually recover here. I mean, I can fish for a burn with the Flamethrower. I'm actually starting to run low already on Flamethrower PP, though. Which is also a pretty serious issue, actually. Be nice if I were landing any of my attacks into Muck. I'll just Ice Beam here, and I'll go for another Calm Mind. I think I want to go +6 on Slowking to really make the most of the remaining Flamethrowers. Probably should have been doing that sooner. Recover here on a possible Draco Meteor, Calm Mind. Draco Meteor or switch to Hariyama. I could see either one. It's actually just Dragon Pulse. Okay. Ice Beam, Calm Mind. They protect. They got me. Again, as far as the Ice Beam goes. Recover, Slack Off, and I'm looking to position to attack with both Pokemon next turn. Okay, Gastrodon takes that Draco Meteor. And the knockoff, that's good. Gabite is now nerfed, has no nerfed itself. I think the Gabite protects here. They might both protect, but I'll try to Earth Power and Flamethrower Muck. Switched out, I was wrong. But there's no protect on either side. Earth Power misses, Flamethrower misses. This is rough. Okay. Protect Gastrodon around a Fake Out, Flamethrower Hariyama. No Fake Out. We do avoid that Drain Punch. Flamethrower doesn't KO. Thick Fat Strong. Recover, but I think they might just get the KO here. But they could protect the Hariyama, so I'm going to Flamethrower Muck. They don't protect Hariyama. Does it even have Protect? Maybe not. Hasn't shown it yet. Okay, we missed another Flamethrower. This is pretty soon just going to be a Slowking endgame. I'll Sleep Powder Hariyama, I think, and try to Flamethrower it. I'm also running out of Flamethrowers. So not letting Hariyama get more recovery would be good. That's probably the best thing I could do there with Lilligant. Critting Hariyama is nice. Now the Muck has Thick Fat. You know what? I didn't think that one through. But what can I do? I can stop Flamethrowering into obvious protects. That would be helpful. Because I am going to run out of PP. Eventually. Should be able to Flamethrower now. Even if I can do this in Game 3, do I really want to? I mean... Okay. One more to get rid of Gabite. Just make an in-between move here. Back off. Please don't protect. Yeah, they got me. It's Thick Fat Muck now too, so I don't know if landing one Flamethrower will be enough or if I need another one. But Gabite's gone. So it's now 1v1. And the Muck has Protect, so it's actually not as simple as just clicking my Flamethrowers. I'm going to Calm Mind here. Calm Mind again. It's minimizing. Alright. That's rough for me. I believe that's now +6 evasiveness. Calm Mind again. Okay, just stalling out PP here. Flamethrower. If they protect here, then they're just in my head rent-free and deserve to win. Okay, no protect, but I missed the Flamethrower. I'm not going to slack off just yet. I'll Calm Mind. They're not protecting. Flamethrower. Still doesn't hit. Slack off. Flamethrower. Flamethrower. Iron Defense. I keep checking for a Protect that isn't there. Alright, I've missed every Flamethrower except there's just one left. That one connects, but yeah, it's not enough. I needed to hit 2 more, I think. Especially with Muck having a Citrus Berry. Now it is just clicking through the remaining power points that we have. So, great viewing experience, I'm sure. I could get crit, of course. Oh, there's only one knockoff left. Okay, and I don't get crit. So yeah, I just click Iron Defense until I run out, click Calm Mind until I run out. At least the turns will go quickly. Unless my opponent doesn't click moves for some reason. I think I lose this, right? Because I'm not going to do the math. I'll just play it out and see what happens. But Slack Off does not have a lot of PP. I don't know the math on these evasiveness rolls, but I do feel like I was unlucky only landing 1 Flamethrower. I did also waste some PP into Protects when I shouldn't have, but I don't think hitting a couple more of them would have been that crazy. But it's alright, this stuff happens. I mean, I knew what I was up against this week. And some parts of my game plan were just not good. But I think there are timelines where the Slow King stuff did work. Oh, opponent says they're 1 to 2 PP short. Alright, I had not counted. I was not going to count. But they do just cut it short here, so we are going to game 3. Alright, game 3. Can I get the Slow King set up again? Because it did work really well. I don't think they're going to let me take Moody away from Scovillain, especially since I showed the skill swap in game 1, but could you imagine? So, I'm saying, I'm not sure I bring Haunter to this game. Then again, maybe just Sludge Bombing things could be helpful early game. Not the Muck, obviously, but maybe Sludge Bombing some other things. Or maybe I just lead Froakie Gastrodon this game. Boost Gastrodon. The bulky Gastrodon was holding up pretty well. Obviously it won't against Trevenant, but Terra Poison... it's weak to Gabite, but it's good into some of their other stuff. Or I could do Lilycole lead, but into that Hariyama. And the Gabite as well. The Gabite is a fire resist, probably with an Eviolite. That's probably part of what it's doing here. I don't know that I trust Torkoal. I think I bring the same 4 Pokemon, but I think I switch up the order. So I'll do Froakie, Gastrodon, Lilligant, Slowking. This might not be correct. Maybe I need to try to get the Slowking set up right away. It's not great that I'm seeing 2 grass types in the lead spot here. And I think I will just go ahead and Terrasilize Gastrodon, which means that I then don't get to Terrasilize Slowking, but I think that is the way to take initiative right now in this game. I'll target an Ice Beam into Trevenant. They can redirect it if they want. Also, this Gastrodon is like all bulk invested, so I wouldn't bet that it KOs at +1 anyway. But I do get a free boost here. I don't think they have a way to stop that. That's not terrible chip on Scovillain, too. The problem is not letting Gastrodon consume the Rindo Berry means I do actually still... Oh, I get the freeze, okay. By the way, they did lead Scovillain. I could have skill swapped it, but I didn't think they'd do that. It looks like Surf will just miss the KO into Trevenant, so that freeze might actually save me. Go for a recover. Overheat Gastrodon, it KOs, alright. But... Surf is now threatening KOs into both of these Pokemon, and if they try to save something, then I can Sleep Powder it. I'll just Sleep Powder the Scovillain slot. I think Trevenant is the more likely of the two to just be sacked here. Oh, you know what they could do? They could switch Muck in and get Moody. Maybe I shouldn't make this play. I could... I'm actually going to switch to Slowking and Sleep Powder the Trevenant slot. Try to catch Muck switching in. No Muck? Okay. Alright, well, I will, what will I do here? I'll go straight for an Iron Defense and normal Weather Ball into Skull Villain. I don't know what kind of damage that'll do, but... Ah, they got me. They got me. Okay, I think I just lose, but maybe it's possible that I don't, because I will still get my boosts here. Yeah, I don't have Protect anyway. Lilligant has the Covert Cloak, so I can just Sleep Powder into the Muck. And who's ready for another 50-turn game? Yeah, that was a well-timed Muck switch in. I covered for it the previous turn, but then not that one. It has no evasiveness boost. Maybe I should just be flamethrowering. But I don't have my boosts either. Just Iron Defense first and Sleep Powder Hariyama. Muck wakes up immediately. Not ideal. Goodbye Citrus Berry. At least the knockoff won't do boosted damage from here. What is this modifier? Is it a special defense drop? I think it might be, because there aren't a lot of other things it could be. But it'd be nice if I could actually see. I'll just Flamethrower and Sleep Powder. We'll see what the Flamethrower does. They get one minimize. And dodge Sleep Powder. Hariyama wakes up. They're waking up quickly this game. Okay, chip the Muck. Oh, we burn the Muck. That's huge. That might... That could be game-changing right there. I'll go for a Slack Off here and Sleep Powder into Hariyama. Hariyama, of course, is not able to dodge it. Well, it is able to dodge it, but it doesn't have a boosted chance. They switch to Trevenant in. That's smart. I will start setting up my Calm Minds, and I'll go for a Leaf Storm to try to KO the Trevenant if they'll let me have it, just so they can't pivot that around anymore. It could be Hariyama switching right back in, but it's not. So we get the KO on Trevenant. The freeze and the burn this game are very lucky for me, but we'll see if I actually get to take advantage. Hariyama comes in. It's threatening Fake Out. I guess I just sack Froakie here so I can bring Lilligant back in and Sleep Powder it again. Muck is getting its minimizes, but it doesn't... Well, it has the Citrus Berry, but after that it doesn't have a way to recover the burn damage. What do I want to do with Froakie here? I think I'm down to click Switcheroo into Muck. I'm guessing it can miss. Yeah, 100 accuracy, so it can miss. But sticking Muck with the Choice Scarf doesn't seem like it would be the worst thing. Recycle? Oh, it does have a way to deal with the burn damage. I never saw its fourth move in the previous game. Oh, that's rough for me. Alright, well, we're going to ignore the Muck for now. We're going to go Lilligant. Keep getting the Calm Minds up. Try to put Hariyama to sleep before Lilligant gets knocked out. That way, hopefully, I can remove Hariyama. The Muck's faster now. I can't read all these Moody boosts with another Pokemon here, but I guess the Muck has boosted speed. Alright, well then, the only play with the Slowking now is just try to get to +6 and get rid of Hariyama in a reasonable number of flamethrowers, and then just try to land flamethrowers into Muck. That's what it comes down to once again. At least it won't be thick fat Muck this time, but it does get all those stat boosts from Moody. But it is burned, so at least its knockoff damage is weakened by that. I just hope for the best here. Those two knockoffs together do more damage than I would like. That's for sure. But I'm just going to slack off here. I guess I'm trying to get to a position where Muck... Ooh, that was close. I guess I'm trying to get to a position where Muck isn't safe to attack. But no, the two knockoffs together... You know what? I think they do too much damage and I lose. Is there anything I can do here? They do about 56% combined, so I get less back from the slack off, so no. Unless I crit... maybe if I burn Hariyama here. No, even then. They got me. Yeah, I could keep clicking slack off, but it doesn't matter. It net loses HP, so it still is just not a winning play. Yeah, so if I had just avoided knocking out the Skull Villain when I did cover for it the previous turn, but then they got me the next turn. And the set kind of came down to that. And I was lucky this game with the freeze and the burn, but they are not enough in the end. GG's to the Sinister Sinistcha. 4-3 now for the Halifax Masquerade Men. A 52-turn game. Don't say you're not getting your money's worth here. But we do come up a little bit short, and just going to have to push hard for a win next week to still try to make the playoffs. But what a season it's been, however it turns out. Come back next week to find out how the regular season at least ends.